turn it on. Power, yeah.
Please welcome Steve Wyatt. So the format we're having today is we're going to have a few performances from Guitar Institute students, get a little bit of feedback from Steve, and we'll be doing a little bit of question and answer as well, trying to pick the master's mind here. But first of all, we've got to get the headset working, I guess. Fun this morning with these, Steve? I'm guessing that one. No? Yay! Yes, exactly. Technical support, over here please. Ah, there we go. Sorry about the delay, folks. We'll be with you in just a moment. And we're working. Is this style? Hey, there we go. Like a virgin. Oh, yeah. Only if you dance at the same time. Okay, so we're going to start off with a performance today. So the first person we've got today is Victor Bacalhau, who's from Portugal. He's a scholarship winner at the Guitar Institute.
All right.
And he's currently on the higher diploma course. So if you want to make your way up to stage, get plugged up. Steve, you've played in some of probably the most high-pressure gigs that exist, so perhaps you could share some of your tips for performing in a pressure environment, because I'd certainly be nervous playing in front of you, and I'm sure these guys will be too. So what are your tips on performing when it counts?
So, just make believe everybody is naked. No, I would say the first thing is to be prepared. Be really, really prepared. Because you can sit in your room and practice, and you can be in the garage with all your buddies and you can practice, but when the lights go out and you're on stage, everything changes. So, but if you're prepared, that gives you the upper hand. And then you just have to, it's taken me years, but try to change the way you think. Because the way you're feeling is a reflection of what you're thinking. So if you're nervous, it's because you're thinking about screwing up, or you're thinking about something that's making you nervous. When some of the better things to think about is just being confident, being in control, and just enjoying the moment. And eventually it gets a little easier.
Cool. You ready to go, sir? Okay. There we go. Let's hit play. Perhaps you could offer him some feedback or advice.
Well, the things that I really like about your playing is you've got great vibrato, your intonation is really good, great tone in your fingers. And did you write that song? I like the melody. I like that it goes into, you know, some Phrygian type areas, and I think the structure of the song is really good. If I was going to offer any criticism, it's hard. You sound really good. I would say, I'd say sometimes the timing is a little off, and I know that's difficult because you got to listen to monitors. Sometimes the music isn't loud enough and all that, but there's a smoothness, you know, that is that you can work on, and the smoothness is not it's not like the legato. It's the phrasing of the entire thing, you know. It's just the confidence of moving around. Sometimes you're a little jerky, you know, when you want more this kind of thing. But you got really good tools. Congratulations.
Now, I'm speaking like I'm an authority or something.
Well, you happen to run probably the biggest guitar record label. Favored Nations has an amazing collection of guitar players, probably the best collection of guitar players on any label. Now, what are the things that you look for when you're signing a guitar player to your label?
Well, you know, the two things that the music industry is always going to need are content, which is the artist, and somebody that knows how to sell it. Because usually artists don't know how to market themselves and whatever. But a lot of times what a label does is it will take an act and it'll cultivate it. It'll help the artist to find singles or to find their space. I don't do any of that. At Favored Nations, I look for artists that are bulletproof in what they do. People who are completely confident in their music and that are independent and that know how to get what they want, know what they want, and the kind of people that nothing is going to stop them.
And I just happen to understand the music business, so I created this label to sort of assist those artists. And you know, the record industry is tough, but there's a home and there's a place for those kinds of artists, because the music that those people make is still vital to a particular group of people. So what I look for is people who know what they want, know how to get it, are very confident in what they're doing, and have some kind of special, interesting skill.
Now, as well as being a great guitar player, you've got a really entrepreneurial kind of view on music. You've created a big business around what you do, which is fantastic. And I heard a story from a drummer friend, Pete Zeldman, who I believe played on Call It Sleep way back in the day, that you had a lot of these things kind of sorted out, right, very early in your career, that you knew that you wanted to accomplish certain things on guitar and maybe start a label. Is that right? And was it that plan, thought about that far back, or?
Well, no. The first and foremost, I loved making music, you know, and it just seemed completely overwhelming on how to get that music in the world. I wasn't concerned with that because I thought it was impossible. You know, how am I? Especially the music I was making, you know, it was really just for me and my friends, you know, to get a kick out of. So but I loved recording, and I loved the idea.
It's just so amazing to get an idea and then to work on it and then to listen to it. I mean, that's really the payoff. That's always been the payoff, and it's always been, you know, the thing that gets me up every morning.
But along the way, I also don't like being taken advantage of or being ripped off. You know, so it's just, you know, those two simple things were put together, and when it's not that difficult. You know, a lot of musicians especially, are very intimidated by the music business. There's no need to be. There really isn't. They feel that if they don't have a record deal,
they're never going to amount to anything or anything. That's not the case, you know? You got to get your priorities in order. And the thing that's going to give you the best chance of getting your music in the world is for you to do the thing that's most natural to you, because that's what you're going to do the best. If you try to do something that's not natural to you, like write hit songs, or maybe that is the thing that's natural, but if it's not, you feel like that's what you have to do, instead of being the guy that develops a particular type of, you know, phrasing that's only unique to them, you know, but you feel like you have to write hit songs. Well, I got news for you. There's people out there who writing, you know, hit songs is very natural for them, and it's they're going to be more effective at that. If you know my music, you know conventional, accessible radio music, but it's just the best thing that I can do. And I've been successful at it specifically for that reason, because it was the best thing that I can do. And that's what I would recommend for you to do to be successful. What was the question? Oh, okay. So anyway, so way back in the day, after I made this record and I thought, let me get it into the world, I just did some research. I said, how does the system work? It's so much easier to figure that out now with the internet. And there's so many more opportunities for you now than there is for an independent musician in 1980 when I was doing that stuff. And don't be intimidated by it. And just don't sell yourself short. Trust me, if you've got the goods, then you don't have to be desperate with them, and you don't have to take every deal that comes along. Just be practical. And that's all I was, you know. I mean, I just, 1 and 1 had to equal 2. And it's, you know, I still have to make these decisions every day. We all do, you know. So I figure it out.
It's a tough business now. You must have seen it grow incredibly and evolve, if you like.
Everything's a tough business, you know. I look at it like this. I like the music business. As a matter of fact, I love it. It's a great business. It's filled with creative people, musicians, and there's a formula, you know. It's as tough as you make it, you know. And there's just a system, and if you can kind of figure it out, it's fine. But I've discovered that there's a lot less, you know, when you think the music business, people are thinking pop records and hit records and all this. That's a whole different world. And it's an okay world if you get into it and you're careful. But, you know, really, it's just about doing a little education, educating yourself and protecting yourself. And it's simple to do. Start your own publishing company. It's easy. It doesn't cost anything. Just go online. Google, starting my own publishing company. Fill out the papers, and all your music is protected. You know, you have a song, you have a record, you have a song you recorded, you want it to be available to everybody in every digital store. There's many ways to do that for very, very cheap. For $80, you can go on TuneCore. TuneCore, TuneCore.com. Start an account and make your record available around the world in every digital store. 50% of all music sales today are digital sales. Now you have no excuse.
Now, I seem to remember you saying that that was one of the things that you thought was the best bit of advice from Frank Zappa, was hold on to your own publishing.
Yeah.
Were there many other things that you learned from Frank? Maybe guitar things, arranging things? What were the things that you found greatest from working with him?
I could never quantify everything I learned from Frank, because every day that goes by and I think about my time with Frank, I discover something else that I learned.
Which were the things that you found the most profound that maybe you could share with our audience today? Sorry to put you on the spot now.
Well, there's so many, but Frank made the music that he wanted to make in the face of any kind of adversity. And that's it. You make the music that's important to you, and just don't let anybody let you believe that you can't. The only one that stops you is you, you know. So, and I just saw Frank, he would get an idea, and that was the most important thing, and he would just make it real. Any means necessary, you know, and
Yeah.
You sound like a workaholic, which I believe that Frank was as well. And is that fair? Do you work from the minute you wake up until the minute you go to bed?
No, I'm nothing like Frank was. I work a lot.
I probably work as hard as anybody in the room.
You know, I mean, when I have a project to do, it's pretty serious. You know, recently I was composing for a project with an orchestra in Holland, and I was putting in. I would wake up and go right to my composition desk and work probably 20 hours, and then go to sleep. And wherever there was no day or night. It was just whenever you wake up and work and wake up and work. But I don't do that all the time. I like to live, I mean, I have a wife, I have kids. They're grown up now, But, I have a schedule. I like to go on vacation. Frank would never go on vacation.
Okay. Do you still practice? Do you have a 1 or a 2 hour routine that you do every day that keeps your chops in,
Yeah, sure. Well, the thing is everybody has obligations and responsibilities, and sometimes you got to get a job, and where do you find that time to develop your voice on the instrument? Well, what I discovered is that consistency is your best friend, because when you're consistent with something, it breeds more consistency. So, for instance, I know a lot of you are probably musicians and you'd love to play and you'd love to make music, but where do you find the time? Where do you find the finances, whatever it is? I would recommend to you to be a little selfish. Be a little selfish with your time. And pick a period of time that's practical, that works within your schedule, that you can make your own, and be consistent with it. Whether it's 2 hours every Friday at 3 o'clock, or it's from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. every morning. Whatever that time is, pick it and be consistent and make it your time to work on your dreams and your instrument. And try not to compromise with it, because the moment you start compromising with that time, it goes away. You say, well, maybe I won't do it today, or do it later in the day. You're dead in the water. So be really fiercely militant, consistent with that time, and then it becomes really easy. Matter of fact, you start feeling really empty when you miss it, and that perpetuates your attitude, your good attitude, and that's what we really need to accomplish anything, is a good attitude.
Do you actually have a list? Do you make a schedule and go that for 5 minutes I'm going to be working on alternate?
I'm kind of neurotic that way.
Picking.
Yeah, no, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
What I do is, usually, sometimes I have to play all day, sometimes I don't get to play at all because of other things, but usually every night, 1 hour before I go to bed, I shut the door, turn off the TV. Well, I never watch TV anyway. I turn off the cell phone, turn off the internet, lock the door. I turn on the tape recorder, the digital recorder, and I just play. I just sit and I just play, and I create a meditative stream of consciousness. And that's so fulfilling. It's so rewarding, because you discover things about yourself. And my biggest thrill still is just to play something that I never played before. So I don't sit and practice like scales, like that. I look for ideas, and then when I come across something that I never did before, and once I find something, it's like a little thread, and then I just work on it, and I 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 exaggerate it. And that's my exercise. I exaggerate ideas until they become something that amuse me.
I've heard you spend a long time practicing the 2-finger tapping riff. You mentioned it on the Berkeley. What's the song to escape?
Building the Church?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That looks like it took an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll pass on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like anything else, You have to have the picture of it first. Like that particular riff, he's talking about a technique I used in a song called Building the Church.
and it kind of looks like this, you know? And before I did it, I imagined it. And this is a very interesting technique that you can try. And this is how I develop my style. And this is how I try to find unique things on the instrument. I tell myself, first of all, that there's countless amounts of things that can be done that I or nobody else have thought of. And they're within my ability. You can say the same thing. Once you start saying that, it becomes a reality. Because it is. That's the truth. There's things that you can do that you haven't done that nobody has done. That's just a fact. But you have to believe it. The only way you're going to discover those things, the level of your accomplishment is directly in proportion to the level of your believing in that. And I know it, because I prove it to myself all the time, you know? And sometimes they're very simple things. So what I did with something like that was I thought, okay, I have to do something that I've never done. It's got to be amazing. For me, maybe not for somebody else, but for me, it's got to be just a little bit better than anything I've done, or just different. It's got to be musical, because it can't just be technical. And it's got to be cool, you know? So I just pictured myself playing the guitar like this, you know? I didn't know what it was, but I knew that something was going to come, you know? And then I just started taking that visual and refining it to this concept of tapping. But it wasn't just the tapping, it had to be musical. You know, it had to sound like music and not just a fascinating technique, you know? So then it just one thing led to another, and, you know, the process of going through it and keeping the eye on the prize, that's the ticket. Because once you start listening to the little voices that tell you, oh my God, this is really hard, I can't get through this, or I don't have the ability to do this, or this isn't cool, or I don't have time for this, just forget it. Just forget it. But what I recommend when those little voices come in is to keep your eye on the prize. And for me, for something like that, the prize was being able to effortlessly hammer away on the neck, make it look cool, be melodic, and something that I've never seen. And I just didn't give up. And here's the ticket. If you don't give up, how are you going to fail?
Very true. Okay, it's time.